for. And he's even going Fleet Beacon on post you. That is crazy. So he's going to go 2 base, either Tempest or Carrier. We'll see.
He's opening up with the Tempest here.
Oh, I'm so happy that Solar actually went for the quick lair. Otherwise, he would be in immense trouble. If he went for like +1 melee, you just can't even get a reactive Spire, even when you see the Tempest move out. I wonder how many Tempests he's going to hide before he shows them, because he goes for the building upgrade right away, so I think he's going to try to snipe some hatcheries. This game is super weird, so you're not sure as a Zerg if you have a... You're not sure as the Protoss if the Zerg even has a lair, and I think he's going to try to maximize the damage. I think just denying the 4th base is not quite enough, because he stops probes in order to get these Tempests out, right? The 3rd base is not quite that early, and he doesn't have extra tech, so here come the Tempest, and they start shooting at the hatchery right away.
There's a lot of potential in these Tempests, but we can't ignore the worker count. Right now it is 65 drones against 49. So hero needs to do a lot, because this is a very big investment. The 2nd Stargate, the Fleet Beacon, all these Tempests that are not going to be fantastic in a straight-up fight. As Solar, by the way, while looking at this, makes 20 more links. I wonder if he feels that he can run all of his ground units to the other side of the map. I believe he had a couple of roaches too. I mean, what hero has right now on the ground is not great, but near a battery it might still be enough, and obviously a Tempest can always help out defensively.
Yeah, and he has a battery ready even in the main base ramp. And he's even making 2 Void Rays just for that purpose, so he can fully focus on the front. I don't think there's enough Zerglings to do anything, but Solar is just trying to buy time to distract Hero so he's not microing perfectly at the front. Solar already gave up on mining from this base. He does have the gold up though, so his mining is still good. It's just important that he doesn't lose more than this.
Do you like cancelling or killing this base more than just killing the 4th base?
I think so, because you also deny mining time right away. A gold base, it also has less minerals, so if you have the drones anyways, it doesn't actually mine that much more than just a normal blue base. And now he can go over to the gold base, and with the queen slightly out of position, the hatchery dies so quickly.
First 6 Corruptors are on the way. Once 6 Corruptors are out, we can absolutely battle a couple of Tempests, but then we can't ignore those Void Rays anymore, because Hero did make a few Void Rays. 1 or 2 queens already falling, so Hero doesn't just get the in-base expand. Hero is gonna get that 4th base in the center of the map as well. And playing against the 3-base Zerg is nice, but playing against the 2-base Zerg, that's a whole lot better. At this point, I would almost say, Hero, why don't we recall? Aren't we happy with what we've done?
Yeah, I think he's gonna see the Corruptors and instantly go back. He's not even recalling, he saves the energy on the Nexus, because this is a very short map, and I guess he's very close to the Stalkers and the Void Rays, but he should be satisfied with this position. I 100% agree. I think he dealt enough damage, killed 2 hatcheries. Solar right now on 2 base mining. And Solar doesn't have a great army either, because Hero is transitioning into Blink Stalkers, into ground. And now the entire standing army of Solar is basically just Corruptors.
I do like what Solar is doing now. This is not the kind of game anymore where he can just macro up and get a couple of Infestors or Vipers way down the line. And yeah, let's get Adrenal Glands, Ultras. No. He's just gonna go for it with a lot of Roaches, a lot of Ravagers, a bunch of Corruptors to take care of those Void Rays in the Tempest. He knows that this is the unit comp that's gonna need to get the job done. And there is absolutely a chance, but Battery Overcharge is so powerful. That's something Solar is gonna have to respect. And those force fields by Hero, he actually trapped 5 Roaches there.
Yeah, those were great force fields, because Solar just wanted to pull back the moment he saw the super battery. Since Hero positioned his army in a way where you can't corrosive buy down the battery. Oh my god, he even blinks forward into the all-in of Solar. I'm not sure if that was the move. A lot of corrosive bites, zoning out the rest of the army. So Hero blinked forward, then needed to move back. A lot of more corrosive bites landing, and a lot of the Tempest also dying at the same time. I think Hero getting a little bit ahead of himself there.
Yep, but Storm did finish up. Maybe he thought he already had it, right? He's like, I'm just gonna blink forward, I'm gonna Storm immediately. He's like, oh, I need 7 more seconds before Storm. But Storm is done at this point. Zealot Charge is done as well. And even +2 is about to finish up. +2 Stalkers against Roaches that don't have any armor upgrades. That's obviously not a very pleasant spot for Solar to be in. The supplies at this point a little bit deceiving. I do believe that Solar dropped the Hydra then, which honestly I'm a little bit confused by, because I think at this point your best shot is nothing but Roaches, Ravagers, since Hero is running a little bit low on units and also doesn't have a lot of Storms to work with anymore.
Yeah, I don't know that Hero's army even got a lot better, because Solar has managed to trade away against some of the gas units. The High Templars obviously morphed into Archons, and the Storm is really good. Another forward blink, and Solar was not ready for that at all. The army was a little bit move commanding, but now he has a great concave of Roach Ravager, and Hero once again needs to fall back. He doesn't need to fight here, he's ahead in workers. Fight with your battery. He also doesn't start any extra batteries, no energy left.
The reinforcements showed up at a picture-perfect moment there for Solar, because I actually think that blink initially was a good idea against the leftover army of Solar, but the next wave of Zerg units showed up at the bottom right side side of our screen, and that turned it into a pretty good fight for Solar. And at this point, I'm starting to believe that supply a little bit. Earlier, I thought it was lying, and at this point, you start looking at like, is there a shot for Solar? hero should obviously have another battery overcharge available. He's still getting all these late game upgrades. He's even investing in his fire. I almost feel that hero is not showing this respect that perhaps he deserves, because Solar is incredibly committed.
Yeah, he's incredibly committed. Once again, he blinks forward. I think it's just an unfortunate situation where hero misjudged once again. There's a lot of Ravagers that look exposed, but there's just such a big army from Solar, you can't blink into it.
Solar now is making his very first few Hydras. I'm really confused about these Hydras, because I feel like we don't have the economy to support Hydras.
Yeah, I'm not convinced by the Hydras either. I mean, Hero is remaking Tempest, which I kind of like, because Tempests are not that expensive. He's not close to being maxed out, so it's not like they make his army weaker. And he killed all of the Corruptors in the last couple of fights, so he will have constant damage output once again. But Solar now trying to go for this round, also coming in from the left-hand side, good for his field.
Solar is going to take a decent fight in the center of the map, but he should never take a great fight near batteries.
Yeah.
And because of that, the Tempests are amazing units, right?
Yeah.
Because you can just chip away at that Zerg army while getting some support of your static defenses. Solar actually getting both of the Hydra upgrades. We've got like the 5 Hydra attack incoming, Lambo. And you know what? If hero keeps bleeding out Stalkers the way that he has been bleeding out Stalkers, the fact that we've got all that creep there, by the way, on the left is massive for Solar, who's doing a good job in finding economic damage over and over again. But hero is going to make it hard. Solar has not played like the cleanest game ever, so we don't have a bunch of spine crawlers. We don't have vision everywhere. But what he is able to do is kill Tempest over and over again, as he does eat a big storm there. This game is nuts. This series is off to a fantastic start.
God, the DT run by will finish off the hatch. Solar is so committed here. I can't believe he just killed the 2 Tempests. His army really isn't supposed to kill any Tempests at this point. And now, oh, he finds himself without an Overseer. Oh, he had one earlier. Maybe hero sniped it at the back there with the Stalkers. And now he's surrounding the army. He's forcing the engagement with a constant DT, DPS. Fighting against the Ravagers. I don't think this is a fight that Solar can take whatsoever, but he just can't escape.
No, the Stalkers obviously were very exposed once more, so a couple of the Stalkers do die. But yeah, we've got 4 or 5 DTs on the ground, no Overseer in the mix, no Spore Crawler nearby. That was never going to end well for the Zerg.
Solar doesn't have the tools anymore to deal with the Protoss army at this point. It's just, hero has such a great army, and he can at any moment also just fall back on his storms, kite back. Solar doesn't have any catch in his army. He can't catch these Stalkers.
Kind of feel like this does so many things right, and then we also had the crazy call or 2, but it's okay because he's so damn good at so many things when it comes to StarCraft 2 that he can get away with a questionable blink here and there. He will lose a Tempest against a couple 2 Hydras that don't have any upgrades. It doesn't matter, because hero did make a lot of correct calls in the end. Had a great hold in the early game. He had to work for it, but at this point, this game is really coming close to an end, as 11 drones have died, and there is our GG.
That Tempest opener also, it counters all the different Queen Walks, all the different all-ins that Solar could have done. So I think it was a very smart strategy, honestly. Good choice by hero. And this game around, he's not going to go for the no-scout. He respects Solar's opening choice a little bit more, and just plays it a little safer.
But Solar so far has only been bleeding out Zerglings, and that may not be fantastic, but it's absolutely okay. It's okay to lose a couple links. What he does not want to do is lose a bunch of drones. Hero's going to activate Pulsar Beam once more. It seems like he's going to get 2. No, I was going to say Hero's the kind of guy that will still turn around and try to get the 3rd one if it goes back to that top mineral patch, but that would have just been too crazy. So far, absolutely acceptable on the side of Solar.
100%. Even killing one Adept and getting whole damage done on the next Adept is really nice, as he can kill this one right here, and he can even force this Oracle to activate the Pulsar Beam, so it loses a lot of energy, and that will just make his early game a lot simpler. Yeah, I think Solar was very happy with the scout that he got there, because he is going for +1 melee, he's going for the Baneling Nest, so what you really want to face up against is against Blink Stalkers. You really don't want to play against Charged Archon, that's the worst matchup, so he's kind of blind countering exactly what hero is doing, and that combined with the early game that Solar had, I think puts him into a really nice position. Because the moment +1 melee is done, you can actually, even with the Oracles, activating Pulsar Beam above the Stalkers, you can catch these Stalkers and find a good trade.
Yep, but there are some stasis traps being planted down on the left side, and that's where Solar obviously needs to be very wary of, because if the vast majority of your links get stuck, but the hero does not have a unit in the wall. Classic hero there. Does have a couple of warp-ins available, so he warps in a few Stalkers in his main. I would want to take a little look at the natural, because I believe the most of the Zerglings of Solar went for the natural for a split second, brought him into the main in the end. Sometimes it does feel that this is one big bait from hero, because his defense against these run-bys is really good.
Yeah, I mean, he's had the most practice against them, given that he keeps it open all the time. I think he recalled there, so at least the Stalkers were not out on the map. It's still not bad for Solar, but that was still that was still not great.
Yeah, because Solar left most of the links in the natural and only sent a couple of Zerglings in the main, so I guess hero recalled his main army to the natural, and that's why those Zerglings showed up a little bit later. But at that point, hero already had 6 Stalkers as well in his main base, so really good defense for hero. Perhaps he was just looking for that run back.
As we see the first Robo starting at 8:30, which is super late for hero, so the immortal count will not be there. As we see a little bit of an attack here from Solar. It's not really a run by, it's more like a run by army going for a straight up attack, as there is Storm ready, but yeah, hero was not trigger happy with those storms at all and saved them.
The Zerglings are taking a pretty good fight though in the picture-in-picture against the Stalkers. Hero has lost so many Stalkers as he was really focused on his High Templar Zealot micro over here on the right side. In the end, he's still forced to morph most of those High Templars into Archons. I would say this was one big success for Solar. Even if he lost a lot of links, even if he lost a lot of Banelings, he killed over 8 Stalkers there, I believe, in front of the natural. And Stalkers are expensive, and it's okay to get rid of a couple of those Zerglings.
Oh, hero is actually transitioning into Fleet Beak, and this is exactly what you want to be up against if you're the Ultralisk player. The counter to the Ultralisk style is just going for 2 or 3 Robos and then a lot of Immortals and Archons. But Ultras are actually very good against the Skytoss transition, because then the ground is a lot. That also means there's no second Forge, and then you can just break through. You can multitask. It's very, very difficult to be everywhere at once if you go into carriers especially. What I'm expecting Solar to do next is to split his army and once again try to attack into the natural and the fort base, but this time with Ultras. And I think this will have a lot more potential for damage.
Well, we need damage, because we look at the piggy bank of Solar, there is nothing left. No queens over here, apparently in the bottom side of the map, but hero's actually getting a little bit derpy there with the oracles. Tiny misclick. Does get a scout off that this hatchery is about to come online in the bottom left side. Solar's got a lot of big upgrades about to finish up. We see +3 melee well on the way, +2 carapace is about to finish up. Here are these Archons for the first time. Well, the 2 Archons against 4 Ultras. The storms are big, but in general, Ultras don't really care about your storms, as Banelings find some good connections as well. But Hero's supply is holding strong, and these Ultras are a move command. And Hero with a perfect wall up there with a couple of Stalkers and 1 Immortal. I think Hero's taking a fantastic fight.
Hero is taking a fantastic fight. He held the first wave, and that was the most difficult, because I don't think he even saw the Ultras up until that point, and he had 0 Immortals for that. Like, none whatsoever. So good storms, good unit retention as well, and he only lost 7 workers. There was a massive Link Bane attack at the same time into the natural. I wish Solar split the Banelings a little bit sooner into the 3rd base, because I think that was the least defended base.
But once more, Solar has not played an ultra high economy ZVP here. We're not looking at a Zerg that's got like 10,000 resources in the bank. He can throw units at a 4-base hero all day, every day. Solar is going to really have to take some better fights, or he needs to start finding that crippling economic damage. Perhaps this is a moment where he can get on top of a couple of these High Templars. 1 Archon, by the way, holding the line there, soaking up a lot of these Banes. But the Zerglings are just not quite getting it done.
Oh my god, that Stalker position in the main base is nasty, with the carriers hitting from the top, even a surround at the bottom against the Ultras. I haven't seen Ultras get surrounded like that in a while. As Solar is super committed, he even brings the Queens forward. He's now starting his transition into his own late game army, but the Corruptor upgrades just started, and +2 is already done for the carriers.
It's crazy, because if you look at the minimap, you would not think that Solar is ever the committed player. And I do think that Solar, with all this creep, should be able to buy some time for himself, or hopefully he can get a slightly more powerful army out. But at this point, there are no spellcasters on the side of Solar. We don't have a single Infestor. We can't Neuroparasite a couple of these carriers. We don't have Vipers for Parasitic Bomb, or perhaps the Loco maneuver a little bit later. We have a couple of Corruptors, but just a few Corruptors without any upgrades against +2 carriers. I mean, Lambo, if there is one man on this planet who knows that I love +2 carriers, I know it's you. That is not going to be a pretty fight for Solar.
It will not be, and I'm also afraid for just the ground battle straight up, because Hero has so much on the ground still, and I'm not sure that... How many Ultras are we looking at right now? Because there is 2 more on the way, and he doesn't have any Infestors. It's only 4 Ultras against 5 Immortals, 10 Stalkers, and 4 Archons. I'm very afraid, especially about Hero just stomping on the ground.
I do like what Solar is doing now, because I kind of feel like he's pretending a little bit. Like, hey, I still want to attack you, and I really hope that you don't move out. So he's buying some time, and while he's doing this, he can start saturating some of these bases in the bottom left or at 3 o'clock, and he can get a more powerful army out. He can get a stronger late-game army out, because earlier, in the previous minute, he was absolutely not ready to battle this army. And don't get me wrong, it's going to be incredibly difficult to take this army out in the next 2 or 3 minutes too, but Solar really does need some time.
I'm very afraid for Solar that he's making too many Corruptors, because Hero hasn't made a carrier in the last 3 minutes. He stopped at like 5 carriers, I think, and Solar kept making Corruptors, but Hero's army is fully anti-Ultralisk. Like, he has the perfect army on the ground, And I'm very afraid. And now, even that he's killing some probes, which theoretically should favor the Zerg, his army is just going to be even stronger, and I'm anticipating hero to move out very, very soon here.
Yeah, but it is intimidating because we see the entire map. Yeah. We know what Solar is working with. We look at hero's army, we're like, whoop, that is one hell of a powerful army. If you're a hero and you haven't been on the other side of the map in the last 7 minutes and you see creep everywhere, it is an incredibly intimidating position to be in. Even if you look at your army, be like, huh, I've got a pretty sick army over here. It is still so scary to move out as here come the... Solar is ready to reset at least some of this Kaito's army and take a decent fight on the ground too. And Hero Supply is absolutely taking a bit of a beating. You're spot on that underground Hero is completely fine, but losing all those carriers while +3 air weapons is on the way is absolutely a little bit painful.
Yeah, there's no Greater Spire on the map yet, so these Corruptors are not going to be super useful. Hero now counterattacking. Hero was on move command for a good portion of that fight. That's why the fight went so good for Solar. I don't think he had any business attacking off creep there, but it worked out perfectly. And now Hero is on the counter-offensive. Solar is way outmining him now, so Hero is the committed player this time around. He doesn't have a War Prison for instant reinforcements, but his army is still looking powerful.
The army is looking powerful, but we are very deep on creep, right? There's no way out over here. Lings and Banes and a couple of Ultras coming in from the right side. We've got the Corruptors in the top left. Just a few Zerglings right now on top of these Ultras would be fantastic, because all the Archons are battling on the right side. Can Solar find those 40 or so Zerglings that he so desperately needs? It is starting to look grim as most of the Ultras are melting, and all that's left on the ground is a few Queens. And now all the units that spawn one by one will die one by one.
Hero once again opening up with a very standard Adept Oracle opener. Last time he didn't double chrono the Adepts and then still shaded in. That just means that he didn't respect Solar's Zergling count. Like, Solar hid the Zerglings away from him, because if you don't chrono the second Adept, the Zergling speed will finish just as the shade finishes. So if there's 6 or 8 Zerglings, you're just going to lose the 2 Adepts and it will always be a bad trade. Yeah, this time around he didn't open with +1 melee as well. So the build order war in PvZ is usually you don't want this to go up against Stalkers. So maybe he was predicting a Charged Archon build from Hero this time around. Not the case though, as Hero just opens the exact same as he did previously on Oceanborn, opening 4 gas Stalker into 6 gas. Still not the worst, as long as the Protoss doesn't super commit. It's not that bad to not have +1 melee. He fires up a quick Roach speed and we'll see where he wants to go from here, maybe into the Lurker transition. I wonder, did Hero scout the Infestation Pit or the Hive? Or does he have no idea of what is going on so far?
I don't think he's been in the main for a little while.
Yeah, so he's trying to figure out what exactly is going on right now. I think he saw that Solar did take 8 gas, so he knows there is attack, but theoretically it could still be Mutas from his point of view, which I think would have been kind of scary. Now he sees the Hive, now he knows exactly what's up. Hero actually going for a quick Tempest, which I love, because that is very good against the attacking version of the Lurkers, where you try to siege, and because it basically puts a timer on the Zerg attack.
Yeah, but it does take a long time, because I feel like 2 Tempests just don't pack enough of a punch. And maybe even 4 Tempests is something that if you're Solar, if you bring the Queens over, you drop a Transfuse here or there, it's not something you have to be omega worried about. Of course, the higher that number goes, the more frustrating it gets. And eventually, if we're looking at 6 or 8 Tempests, like, yeah, that really starts adding up. Then you start bleeding out expensive units like Lurkers rather quickly. But I do feel like if I'm Solar, I'd be like, okay, I know that eventually this is going to be a problem, but the first 2 Lurkers, I'm really not that worried of. Or first 2 Tempests, rather than. And this game is a lot more competitive than that one was, so you cannot afford to randomly lose them.
Yeah, 100%. Solar gets in with a couple of Zerglings, as he also moves forward at the same time. Hero not quite paying attention on the High Templars. No Storms being dropped, but he has to disengage just by the Immortal standing there and the Tempest constantly shooting. He just has no anti-air to catch these Tempests whatsoever. And now he's actually attacking into the snow, right? No.
I think that was a bit of an overcommitment there by Hero, as he does drop a safety storm or 2. There are a couple of Zerglings nibbling away on the Fleet Beacon of all things. And that actually means that Hero can no longer build any extra Tempest, can build carriers for a little while. What a pickup with a couple of random Zerglings.
Yeah, I don't think Solar expected that as well. He probably was like, okay, what's the best target for me to kill? And he just goes on the Fleet Beacon and just Hero didn't pay attention. So
I bet Hero is going to be so confused when he realizes he can't build any Tempest. He's like, that doesn't make any sense. I've got Tempest. Like, pause, referee, please. Like, you lost it to a couple Lings, my friend. Now he does have a Mothership. He's got a pretty terrifying army. But this is also the kind of army that if I'm Solar, I look at it and be like, if I can just get on top of it, I'm going to absolutely crush this Protoss force.
Yeah, it's so difficult though. He needs a huge portion of his own army to come from behind, I feel like. Instead, he's going for big run-bys, which is also a good option against Tempest.
I do like it because these run-bys are going to make the game more chaotic, and that is what Solar needs right now. Because this army of hero has a lot of potential, but it's so flimsy. If Solar can just get a little surround, even a couple of roaches, a couple of lurkers coming in from the top, he could really take a magnificent fight. As the first Viper is out, we get an abduct up on one of those Tempests. The remaining Tempest count is 4. It's annoying, but Solar does not need to panic. He just needs to choose the next battle wisely.
Yes, I think maybe his best option at this point, honestly, is to go for more big counterattacks. Because Hero's army is not very good at just breaking through, right? You try to pick apart at the Zerg 1 unit at a time, and he doesn't have a lot of units at home. So these small counterattacks are already so annoying for Hero. I think maybe you leave a couple of Lurkers at home and then go for a huge counterattack, maybe with a Nidus even.
Couple of Zealots is not going to be enough for Hero. These Zerglings are feisty as +2 melee is about to finish off. I really love the way that Solar is playing this. It's such a mature decision to look at that bottom base and be like, I don't want to lose it, but I think it's okay to lose it right now. I've got bigger fish to fry. It's unfortunate for Solar that he didn't quite get the kill there on the cybernetic score. As Hero has rebuilt his fleet beacon, by the way, right in the spot where he gets run-bys 24/7. So there is a chance that we lose another fleet beacon later on. But I love that call from Solar to just let that base die. And look at these Zerglings go. These buildings are so damn expensive. Fleet beacon 300 gas, Templar Archives 200 gas, as the Protoss army is on creep.
Yep, and the mothership should go down here. Oh my god, the time warp, the Corruptors went back too soon. He 100% had that mothership. Now he's gonna get it anyways. Hero was like, okay, this is fair play, I'm gonna give it to you. As he constantly still kills Corruptors one at a time, which forces Solar forward, but it's so difficult to... Oh my god, the Stalkers, that was... Was there blink on cooldown? I guess he blinked downwards?
Yeah, I don't know, but that's a lot of Stalkers that got absolutely obliterated by the Lurkers, as the Zerglings are still doing that thing, not just getting a Templar Archives, but also getting a Stargate. These have been incredibly successful Zergling run-bys, not in the way of killing 20+ workers, but in picking off very expensive tech buildings. It really does feel that Solar is just counting down the seconds until he can get that one sweet surround.
Yeah, it's just so difficult to get, especially without any distractions. Hero has struggled with these run-bys, mostly I think because he was almost maxed, so he couldn't warp in enough Zealots to deal with them, and this is still the case. But these are the engagements that very much so favor Hero, because Solar just runs forward, the Tempest always kill the units one at a time in the Storm zones.
Couple of Zerglings now run into the main base. They're going to try to pick up the Forge. That will not work. But if Solar can just distract Hero a little bit with these run-bys, High Templars go pretty far forward. But it's okay because the Archons, the Immortals, and the High Templars are here. And Hero is going to find another big pickup on this hatchery in the top right side. Tempest now kind of left by themselves. Corruptors get a couple of shots up. That parasitic bomb is dealing serious damage on those remaining Tempests.
They're out of position now to defend the left side base, and the Lurkers can intercept the army of Hero. And all of the static defense is unpowered now. This is Solar's time to strike. He has the bigger army. He picks off a couple of Tempests on the way back. There's still Stalkers, so Hero's army is not very good at fighting directly into Solar's army.
Sniping those pylons was massive. Maybe we would have liked to see Hero recall the army. He has not done that. Heroes is in such an awkward spot right now with all those units at the bottom of that ramp. He does drop a couple of nice storms, softens up those Corruptors a little bit. Both players honestly floating a lot of resources for the level that they have and for the crazy game that this is. I guess Solar's is a little bit out of larva. As Hero left a lot of units behind there, the Archons are going to go through the meat grinder. Those two Tempests are left all by themselves, and obviously they are dead right now as the Corruptors chase them down. I think Solar has played this really well. What a snipe on that pylon to unpower all those cannons and batteries.
All it took was one bad army movement decision from Hero, and then he was cut off from his own most exposed base. And his army is so good at constantly picking apart, but it's so bad that if you're forced to engage into the Zerg army, you just can't do it.
It's funny, because if Hero would have done it the other way around, I think he would have been totally fine.
Yeah.
If he leaves the Archons, Immortals, and High Templars on the high ground, and the Tempests go a little bit to the right to work on that hatchery, same result, but a very different outcome, because Solar can't run on top of those ground units, but he can run on top of the Tempests that were all by themselves.
Yeah. And then he just couldn't recall all of the units, so 3 more Archons, 2 more Tempests went down, and that's exactly what Solar needed. It's still a rough position for him, because he just doesn't have a catch. Like, how do you exactly engage this army? You kind of need an Infestor to flank and get a Fungal down, or you need a surround. So I think the best that he can do right now is try to go for massive counterattacks and then defend. I think that is kind of the game plan that I think Solar should go for.
Solar is firing up 8 Broodlords, so it's quite the opposite, right?
Yeah, it will allow him to move across the map with the Lurkers, actually. So this could help him in this type of scenario where he's just trading against the Tempest. The Broodlords are obviously not that good, but it allows him to move across the map with the Lurkers and even maybe move them across with the Nidus as well.
hero is Dark Shrine has finished up a little while ago as he does land a little fungal, and a fungal does mean that these Tempests are going to have a hard time getting away. He goes for the split target fire. He wants to get at least 2 Tempests, and he does grab 2 Tempests immediately. A lot of Storms did get dropped there on the Zerg army. The Broodlords take a severe beating, but hero still has triple Stargate Tempest. I have a hard time believing that the Broodlords are going to have a big impact. And dealing with Zealot run-bys when you go for a more immobile Zerg army yourself is incredibly difficult, as that hatchery finishes up and dies immediately. It's despite that great fight that Solar had earlier and denying this base from coming online, this game is starting to look more and more grim for Solar with each passing second.
Yeah, I think he needs more infestors. He needs more moments like the one we just saw where he fungals a couple of Tempests, actually kills some units, and then he can fully engage onto Hero's army just without the fungal. It's so difficult. How do you ever stop Hero from just moving back, shooting, storming when you engage with everything? It's so difficult.
Solar does have gas in the bank, so if he wants to, he can absolutely make a few more infestors. What he does not want is lose this base. Broodlord's fire, he gets one of the Archons immediately. We do land an abduct on the mothership, and that means that the mothership will die for the 3rd time in this game. Hero definitely lost some supply there, but still has 101 army supply. Solar seems to believe that this is an army he can absolutely chase down. I mean, the Broodlings do make it a lot more difficult for the High Templars to get to the front lines and drop great storms.
Mining him.
Yep, this base from Hero is incredibly fresh. He's barely mined from it. Obviously, he lost it at one point, but there is so much left there. While Solar, his bases, there is a lot less left. A couple of the Stalkers now look for a counterattack. Solar seems to believe that this was a moment to go for it, but Battery Overcharge is going to keep the unit safe. A lot of the High Templars took damage there, but they did not go down.
Yeah, and a lot of the Corruptors did take damage from the Storms, which is basically permanent damage for this. 2 good abducts on the Tempest, some good pickoffs. As long as he kills 1 or 2 more Tempest, he can't one-shot the Broodlords anymore. A couple of Archons also moving too far forward.
Those Stalkers are really missing right now, by the way. Hero could have absolutely used a couple of the Stalkers there to keep those Corruptors at bay, but the Stalkers are instead dealing damage to the hatchery at the bottom side of the map. If Solar wasn't planning to all-in with this attack, he's absolutely planning on it right now. The High Templars go really far forward as the Lurkers get a couple of good shots up. The Broodlords are doing that thing. The Tempest count is low, is very low. Can the Corruptors get the final Tempest? 1 Tempest remains, but this 1 Tempest represents so much damage right now.
It represents so much damage. Solar's entire army is just Broodlords at this point. The Stalkers also running back. Solar just has no mining left. He has 54 workers remaining, but no fresh bases whatsoever. And the Stalkers are going for the flank. They're blinking forward, picking apart at the Lurker Broodlord army from both sides.
Is that a revelation here? Because that single Lurker, by the way, could potentially have a very big impact. Yeah, there is an Observer in the mix for Hero. Solar obviously knows that he is in trouble. He lands an abduct, but he barely has any anti-air. That final Corruptor gets picked off, and it is starting to look like Hero will be the one to advance into the 2nd round of Group B. That means we get to see more.